Worry it could begin to look like intimidation when it's at someone's doorstep. I'm someone.
It's so funny. So does what Alito wrote. Looks the same way to me. It looks like intimidation.
Well,
and yeah, it's kind of the same thing.
But it also shows Alito what it feels like to lose your freedom of choice. He cannot leave the house easily, so maybe that's a good lesson for them.
Intimidation.
He cannot leave the house. Cannot leave the house. Cannot leave the house. It's a good lesson. It's a good lesson. It's a good lesson for them. To lose your freedom. It's a good lesson for them.
Obey.
It's kind of the same thing.
Talk about a crazy day. We've got wild stories plus your questions. So let's get started.
We're going to seize their yachts, their luxury homes, and other ill-begotten gains of Putin's kleptocracy. Kleptocracy. And the guys who are the kleptocracies.
Absolutely unbelievable. Absolutely stunning what is going on out there, folks. Thank you, Mr. T, for the great new promos. People, the images of people who are enslaved, the images of people who are destroyed, imprisoned by tyranny, and the hypocrisy of the left. It is all so disgusting. It really is. It is hardcore, but this is just satire. We couldn't dare talk about anything difficult, not when we're supposed to be chuckling. Satire.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Here it comes, folks. Are you ready for the truth? I want to start with something that I've been avoiding. I have been quiet on the whole baby formula issue until now. It's not baby formula, folks. It's baby food. I eat food, you eat food. I guess when they start feeding us or trying to feed us bugs and some kind of protein paste, I guess we'll call that people formula. Soylent Green. Folks, it's baby food. There's a baby food issue out there, and American parents are being told not to make their own because it's dangerous for babies. You could get too much water in there. You could get too much salt in there. Are you telling me babies, they can't deal with moisture? Anyways, then the same expert idiot who said, don't make your own baby formula says, substitute cow milk. And my head nearly exploded. I can't take this anymore. Cow milk is not cow milk. The stuff they sell in stores is not cow milk. Milk, a product called milk, which is regulated. Milk is cow milk stripped of all its beneficial nutrients and constituent parts to make cheese, cream, butter, etc. The so-called milk, the stuff that's left over, is then homogenized with some basic vitamins added, called fortified. Right? It's garbage, essentially, packaged for disposal through human consumption and sold as milk. Do not give that to your babies, is I think what anyone who knows a thing about nutrition and mother's milk would say. So Biden sends formula to the shelves at the border. He won't send Border Patrol to the border, but he's sending pallets and pallets of baby formula down there. What the hell is going on, folks? The shortage of baby food is creating panic and fear in many places. In addition to the higher costs, folks, in addition to the massive inflation people are having to deal with. Where is President Biden? Where is the Vice President, Camel Toes? Presumably a mother or a parent of some type. Shouldn't she give a crap? The FDA, folks, shut down a baby food factory because 2 infants got sick and or died, yet hundreds and thousands have died from the Jim Jones juice. And the government encourages that, endorses that, mandates that. But couple of babies get sick, we better shut that stuff down. No more baby food. But make sure everyone gets their Jim Jones juice, right? Why wasn't the baby food factory opened immediately? How hard is it to clean the equipment and start going again? Instead, we have one more crisis, folks. It's outrageous that American babies may go hungry and malnourished while Biden sends billions of dollars overseas, shuts down energy production here, and laughs about inflation while blaming others for it. FJB. Oh, I'm pissed. Unfreaking believable what is going on, folks. Oh, did I say SHTF is hit? Did I say that? I'm pretty sure I said that. Oh, it's unbelievable, folks. Freaking unbelievable. Oh, can I top that? Probably. Wow, yeah, that was a dark, dark transitional piece. What a nasty looking bumper. Thanks, Mr. T, making people cry in their sleep. Hey, folks, get this. When the mob is right, it can do whatever the hell it wants. A Georgetown law professor. Folks, Georgetown law used to be like an admirable, a respected legal establishment. It's done. Forget it. Forget all of academia at this point. It's all off the hook. It's all stupid. A Georgetown law professor supported that aggressive protests at the home of the Supreme Court justices is fine because, quote, when the mob is right, it's fine. So here's what I'm thinking. Once a mob forms, instantly it is right on all things, intellectually, morally, ethically, legally, right? So a mob of angry people can break federal laws, commit felonies because it's right. Professor of law, is that correct, Mr. Professor? All right, from this article that I was reading about this, we have seen similar claims of license for what Nancy Pelosi called this week's righteous anger, and Mary Lori Lightfoot Beetlejuice called it a call to arms. A call to arms, righteous anger, right? And we're supposed to believe that rage can rationalize any means of response. For instance, a multiple-time felon, while being arrested for allegedly committing yet another felony or two, dies. So violent riots everywhere across the nation are rationalized, excused, justified, permitted, and even encouraged by people whose cell is so high into the ranks and skies of power that it would become the vice president, the president. That's right, folks. St. George Floyd. Everyone is righteously angry. It's a call to arms, and the mob is right, and it has to be allowed to express itself. Thank you, Democrats. What about the mob, though? Angry at election fraud, enraged at the lies. They go to protest at Capitol Hill peacefully, whereupon they are assaulted by government forces. And the media, the politicians, the mainstream media don't say, once you're a mob, you are right. There's no righteous anger that's allowed for anyone who isn't a Democrat and a socialist. This is about partisan chicken poop logic, folks, and it is going to be met with violence once that line is crossed. When or will that line be crossed? I'm not encouraging, I'm not inciting, I'm not promoting, I'm not glamorizing, I'm not glorifying, I'm not suggesting anything harmful or dangerous or violent. I don't have to. It doesn't need me. It's coming. You will see. We all will see it and know it and participate. All of us. We all have a stake in this. I'm not going to do anything illegal. I act only lawfully. kind of like the mob is right. When the mob is right, everything is okay. Can you freaking believe it? And then we have this. I don't even know where to begin with this. Dr. Evil, right? Democrats are silent. And the Republicans are ripping into the secret royalty check scam, right? Royalty checks, financial winnings, financial rewards. What do you want to call it? Payoffs, bribes. What do you want to call it? Well, these are dividends. Hundreds of National Institute of Health scientists and even Dr. Doom himself have gotten paid money. Quid pro quo, take our medicines. Unethical much? Experts, doctors say. Conflict of interest? Anyone? Top Democratic leaders, folks, with oversight of the National Institutes of Health, the NIH, are keeping quiet about the $350 million in secret payments, just secret payments to agency leaders like Dr. Anthony Doom and hundreds of scientists. $350 million. Are we to believe that there was no quid pro quo, that this wasn't unethical, that there were no conflicts of interest? Where are the Democrats? They're standing over there behind the abortion protesters. Where are the Republicans, folks, on this? Well, some of them are speaking up, some of them. But what about the January 6th sham imprisonment, the baby food scam, the border, the Ukraine money laundering, the military-industrial complex racketeering with the world held hostage? Gas, diesel, natural gas, oil, all held hostage to the World Economic Forum, the green energy revolution that they're putting on us, and it will cause revolts, folks. Klaus, what type of necktie and what size do you prefer? Me, I prefer the silk tie. Feels cool to the skin. I like silk neckties. Wonder what kind of tie Klaus Schmidt likes. Folks, we have big problems and they're accelerating them. Get this. Oh, I was so excited, so enthusiastic to get into my monologue. I forgot to remind you guys, get your questions into Jolene. Jolene scared me. I was like starting the show and it's like, holy cow, where is she? That's why we are a minute late. Folks, you're not a minute too late to the SHTF party if you're showing up now. But by golly, people better wake up and get prepared. They better get food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, and the means of self-defense. They better put a plan together. They better understand what's happening, right? In the Persian Gulf, you have the Gulf, right? The Middle East. Gulf state OPEC members are sounding the alarm, folks, about dwindling global energy capacity. Hey, is it peak oil or is this a shortage created and played in order to benefit those who have a stake in the agenda? Oh, yeah. Saudi Arabia, folks. They say they're running out of energy. That means they're running out of oil. Saudi Energy Minister Prince Abdulaziz bin Salman decided to speak with Bloomberg. And he said, I am a dinosaur, but I have never seen these things, referring to this shortage. He says the world needs to wake up to an existing reality. The world is running out of energy capacity at all levels, right? Says the Saudi minister. We have been warning about the lack of investment, said Al Mazroul, and he's the United Arab Emirates energy minister, who also spoke to Bloomberg. He says, we've been warning about a lack of investment. That lack of investment is catching up with a lot of countries. Hello, Germany. Hello, United States of America. Whose policy was it to cut the Keystone Pipeline? Whose policy was it to stop issuing permits? Whose policy was it just in the last few days to deny oil leases? The Biden administration, folks. The Biden administration. You see these Middle East energy czars. Let's give them a cool title. The way we have our idiots in Washington calling themselves czars, which is the same as Caesars, Kaisers, kings. Language, it all means something. These two ministers, these two czars, came from OPEC because United States knuckleheads in Washington, D.C. want to pass legislation called NOPEC and try and sue OPEC and OPEC Plus, which includes Russia. They want to sue them. And basically, OPEC is saying, how is that going to help? How is that going to help the problem? In fact, this is what was said by Al Mazruli. He blamed the politicization or the weaponization of the oil market for the rise in prices and declared that OPEC Plus, which includes Russia, was unified and that all members have pledged not to hike output on their own. He says, we are together. Trust me, no one can unilaterally increase production unless they're intending to break the alliance. We're getting a fraction of what companies and governments are making from those extra taxes, he said. Now, this is an interesting point. The price you pay at the pump, the price I pay at the pump, is not what it costs to make a gallon of gas or make a gallon of diesel. It has nothing to do with it. That cost we pay at the pump is the cost of the oil, the transportation, the tankage, the cracking, the fracking, the distilling, more tankage, distribution, and then when it finally makes it to the gas station, the federal government slaps a massive tax on it. So yeah, folks, everyone has a hand in this, and everyone is making hand over fist money, except you and me. Now back to this thing about exploration. What is he talking about? I'll tell you what he's talking about. Exploration, folks. You have to spend money to drill for oil. You have to spend money to find it. It's the same with all other natural resources. They haven't been spending money to find them, the resources, whether we're talking about nickel and cobalt, platinum, palladium, gold and silver, copper, tin, antimony, zinc. It is incredible, incredible that they haven't spent money on this. Instead, they've spent money on Amazon, investing there, investing in Netflix. What did they mine with Netflix? Woke entertainment, of course. The best shows, of course, have no woke entertainment in them, but the worst ones do, and that seems to be all they make. More crap. Apple, since they came out with the smartphone, all they've done is make it a little bigger, have a little more storage, have better cameras. Essentially, that's all they do. That's all smartphones do. They've gotten a little bigger, they've gotten a little faster, they've gotten more storage and better cameras. $1,500 for a nice smartphone. That's it. That's it. That's the innovation. But people want to invest in that. That's worth billions and trillions of dollars. But oil and energy, uranium, nuclear power. How about molten salt reactors? How about other types of energy that don't require the destruction of the earth in order to get them, right? There's so much. I've really been exploring, folks, me exploring what they're exploring for. and how they're getting elements out of the ground so that they make the world a better, safer, cleaner place with a better environment. There's so many new technologies out there. They're not being invested in. But these people, all they want is their wealth. They don't want to change a system that's already designed, already in place, and already making them filthy, stinking rich. Yep. And as predicted right here on the Prepared Mind channel, Russian oil revenues have soared 50%, folks, hitting a record high. Now, what did I say goes into the cost of a gallon of gas, a gallon of petrol, if you will? Well, you got to pump it out of the ground, put it in tanks, then put it in a ship it, put it back into a tank. Then you've got to crack it, refine it, and then you put it into some more tanks, and then you put it in a truck or a pipeline, send it to a distribution center, truck it, put it in the tank, and then the government adds taxes. There's a lot of people making money on there. But just for doing what it's done, Russia, it is now making 50% more on its raw oil production. Russia's doing just fine, folks. How is your wallet? If someone asked you, if they said to me, John, what's in your wallet? I'd say a lot less cash than there was last year. Woo! See what I'm saying to you? Unbelievable. We predicted it. We talked about it. And here it is. Russia's doing just fine, folks. Just fine. But with gas prices at all-time highs, our good buddy Biden decided to cancel, and I mentioned this just a few minutes ago, oil and gas lease sites in Alaska and the Gulf of Mexico. Why? Why are they canceling, choosing not to renew or grant anything that could be beneficial to us? Because it fits their agenda. The green energy climate control agenda. This carbon-free, choke on it, you bastards, program they have. This is what they want. Folks, this is exactly what they want. They want energy shortages and higher prices. They want food shortages and food inflation. They want it. They want social unrest. And so they're pushing and pulling every lever they can to get it. If you don't see what's going on, oh shit. Yeah, any of you who are paying attention to the stock market lately, anyone with a, 401k, a private retirement account, anyone that's invested through their job, especially if you have a government job, you've got public employee retirement systems. You got a PERS system out there. In the last month, the system has lost $20 trillion. That's way over what it takes to fund the U.S. government for 1 year. In fact, the government has $30 trillion in debt. I'm not talking about unfunded liabilities, which go over $100 trillion, but right, the national debt, $30 trillion. Well, just in 1 month, let's just say the entire year of 2022, Biden's economy has lost for the American investors. They've managed to lose $20 trillion in value. Now, that money wasn't lost. It didn't get flushed down a toilet. It's not burning in all those houses in LA right now. That $20 trillion got transferred into the hands of rich people, bankers, super wealthy insiders, people who have, shall we say, very special privileges, insider knowledge. Unbelievable what's happening right now, right? What do I talk about? Representative Katie Porter, Democrat, says Bidenflation reinforces the need for abortion. So now they're going to tie the Democrats. They're trying to tie the bad economy, the shortage of food, inflation, baby food problems. We need more abortion because, there's not as much stuff. So I guess the next step for her would be mandatory abortions for everyone. And as discussed in my earlier video, what about Canada saying If you're poor and you don't have much dignity left, we're here to help you. We'll just help you commit suicide. Thanks, Canada. Thanks, government. And of course, folks, the pandemic is not over. Quote, this pandemic is not over, says Xi Joe Biden at the Global Cerveza Bug Summit. He's got time for that? He can't even spell the word doctor. He doesn't know anything about medicine. He's not an expert. He's just the president. But he's allowed to speak on it, and he really needs to go spend his time there, I guess. I guess he really does. And I want to remind everyone that none of us are exempt. None of us are exempt, folks, from World Economic Forum and globalist tyranny. You guys have heard of Stuart Rhodes. He was the leader of the Oath Keepers, right? He says in a statement, his first that's been released from Alexandria prison. Do you remember hearing about Stuart Rhodes and the massive armed insurrection where thousands of armed veterans stormed Capitol Hill and tried taking over the government? You remember that? No, because it didn't happen. There were not thousands of Oath Keepers. Nobody had guns. Stuart Rhodes wasn't leading jack shit. In fact, it was the police who invited the citizens into, they're citizens, folks, they're Americans, into Congress, public property. But they arrested Stuart Rhodes. They need a fall guy. They need someone to blame. And he said the federal agents there are threatening him, threatening his life. They're threatening life in prison. Feds are threatening life in prison. That may as well be your life, threatening his life. You see, that's all they do. They've been holding people for well over a year now. That, what is going on, folks, would make King George in 1776 go, ooh, you guys are nasty. You are. And now on to China. We're coming up at the end of my half an hour, and there are numerous topics I haven't touched. And you guys, your questions into Jolene. You guys have a lot to talk about, and I want to hear your questions. Get them into Jolene. But for now, folks, China. Well, here we are, folks. We've been talking about this as well. What's going to go on in Taiwan? What does China think of the actions of Russia, NATO, the United States? Are the allies, the alliances of NATO being broken up? Well, you know, the United States government would like the alliance in OPEC nations broken up, but they're like, nope, we're not gonna violate our own rules and help you out, U.S. Well, China, folks, has warned U.S. warships to get the hell out of the area because the People's Liberation Army, I guess, and Navy, want to do large-scale drills near Taiwan. Near Taiwan. This is testing the resolve, folks, of Biden policy. And his policy is probably about as firm as his stool that he walks around with in his pants all day. I'm sure it's pretty mushy. And as soon as China is ready, as soon as they are certain the response will be the one that they need, they're going to take Taiwan. I have now abandoned all hope that Taiwan can remain independent and free. The idea that Japan and its carrier group and the United States and its carrier group were down there to stop China. I think what they're going to do is they're going to stand in as witnesses to what is coming between the naval drills and exercises and the aerial acrobatics and stunts being performed by Chinese Air Force, the People's Liberation Air Force. I think they're getting very close to doing what they want to do. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. You know, the Attorney General, Merrick the big stud Garland, He has ordered U.S. Marshals to beef up security for Supreme Court justices. Well, didn't Justices Alito and Kavanaugh and now Amy Coney Barrett, and these justices, folks, very few of them do anything to please me with regard to the Constitution and doing their jobs. But I still think that, while they have an opportunity to redeem themselves, they need to be protected as per the law. But this didn't come. This new Attorney General Garland, nothing came about until Maryland and Virginia governors said something. And we know the Virginia governor is not that left-wing radical blackface wearing lunatic, Northam, right? There's a new sheriff in town, a new governor in town. And I guess they may have said to Merrick Garland, you need to protect the Supreme Court judges. If you don't, we will. Once again, folks, we're seeing the federal government, law enforcement failing to do its job. Its prescribed job. It's prescribed job, folks, like, protecting the border, protecting the interest of Americans, you and me, the people who pay the taxes, who pay for the corporate products that make them billions of dollars. Unbelievable where this is all going, folks. Unbelievable. I've got a list here. But I think it's important to get to your guys' comments, your topics, your subjects, statements, questions, etc., etc. It's Thursday. Tomorrow is Free for All Friday. I feel like going off and doing a little free for all screaming myself, but it's not time yet, right? Let's get to your questions, though. Let's see what you want to talk about.
Are you ready?
Oh, yeah, here we go. What a week. Unbelievable. The destruction of liberties, freedom, wealth, sovereignty. It is all over us like white on rice, if you will. Okay, Jolene, who is going to step up first and take a crack? And don't forget, you can also, stump the John. The Democrats impeached President Trump over trumped up charges. Everything President Biden has done is more serious than Trump. Should President Biden be impeached, and what should be the articles of impeachment? I believe that Biden should be impeached. The articles of impeachment should include malfeasance of office to the criminal side, primarily for the pullout, the abandonment of Afghanistan. Never mind the pain, difficulty, and lives lost to our allies, including the Afghan military and the people of Afghanistan. The American president and his advisors should all be, in my opinion, impeached and have all benefits and recognition, title, honors removed from them, including the Secretary of Defense, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and especially the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and anyone in the Pentagon who suggested that just pulling out would be fine. Because not only did we lose the lives of those 13 soldiers and Marines who were killed, and I believe a corpsman, who were killed in that bombing at the airport because the terrorists saw our military as weak because they were running away. Well, those servicemen and women weren't running away. They were in station. They were at post. They were standing guard. They were performing as ordered. And it is because of the weakness shown by Biden. Additionally, he made no provisions to get Americans out of the country. He abandoned tens of thousands of Americans, and the response out of the pathetic State Department. The pathetic State Department, when Biden should have been in front of a microphone answering the questions. The statement was, "You're on your own. Find your own way out. You figure it out." There was no forewarning. There was no advanced warning. There was nothing for these Americans, folks. Nothing that they knew was coming. It was just, we're out of here. On top of that, folks, the Taliban was declared the enemy of the United States of America, the enemy of freedom, the enemy of many things. And the Biden administration and the Secretary of Defense and the Joint Chiefs of Staff, including the chairman, handed over $85 billion in munitions and equipment. They gave the enemy weapons of war, including drones, helicopters, tanks, explosives, name it. $85 billion, 85 billion with a B. He should be tried for treason for what he did to those Americans. How many Americans were abandoned? How many Americans were put into slavery? How many Americans were murdered, tortured, raped? How many Americans are still suffering under these conditions over there, forgotten by their own government, abandoned by the president, abandoned by the Secretary of Defense, abandoned by the Pentagon? Yeah, that sounds a whole lot worse, doesn't it? Than Trump being impeached for what? I don't think anyone can remember. Why was Clinton impeached? For high crime and misdemeanor, for lying to the American people about his affair and other matters with Monica Lewinsky, right? Just in 20 years, folks, we've seen the integrity fall. And here we are. Shit has hit the fan. I barely recognize this country outside the area where I live, which is extremely free. Outside of this area, folks, I see an America that is barely recognizable except in name only. Unbelievable, folks. Unbelievable. What else have we got, Jolene? Where are we going next? We've got Cottage Farm checking in. Do you know the formula plant that is shut down is for special diet formula? The government could have fixed this prior to the emergency. It is now. Think of the little babies that'll suffer. So this isn't just a regular baby formula plant. It's a special diet formula that was bad. So the one area, right? 2 babies got sick and or died, which is tragic and terrible and horrible, but it is what it is. So you're going to shut down the entire plant because the special diet formula had a problem. The government could have fixed this prior to the emergency it is now. I believe it. You see, the government loves to come in. Anyone who's ever witnessed this, there's one problem. And they say, if we don't have our way, if you don't do as commanded, or they just say, screw you, we're shutting the entire thing down, the entire job, the entire facility, the entire business, right? There's an investigation of one person in a company that is embezzling money. So they come in and they shut the entire business down to conduct an investigation and take all the computers. So the whole business is now dead. Way to go, brain surgeons. This is how they operate, though, folks. This is how government thinks. Screw everybody. They're in charge. It is a crying shame. And yeah, there are little babies that are suffering. Now, not every area has a shortage. Not every area. But the ones that do, that's where the problem is. You know, sadly, there aren't preppers out there who have a garage stuffed full of baby formula where they can say, hey, we'll take care of this. We'll donate. We'll make it up until this is corrected. That's not something that preppers store. But I tell you what, I now have an idea that may be something that more advanced preppers may need to do is get baby formula and get it stored. Another thing I would strongly recommend while we're on this particular topic is, in addition to baby formula, I have been thinking a lot about electrolytes. Gatorade is famous for this, and other companies. Pedialyte also, for making powdered dry, right? So you don't have to store hundreds of gallons of this, but water additive that has much needed electrolytes in good, shall I say, acceptable proportion, right? To help people become hydrated very quickly. Under stress, under heat, under adverse conditions, people can become dehydrated and suffer from heat frustration, heat stroke, heat exhaustion, and becoming quickly and effectively rehydrated is very important. But back to the baby formula, this whole thing it smells of these scumbags. I mean, it's interesting, is it not, that the Democrats and Joe Biden don't give a crap about babies? Yeah, this is the same political party, folks, that loves abortion. This is the same political party that in California thinks you should be able to kill a baby up till 1 year old. And they're even trying to pass legislation saying that. What planet am I on? We are in bizarro land, clown world, run by an idiocracy. And nobody can argue against that. Nobody can claim, I don't know what I'm talking about. No one can say you are off your rocker for thinking such a thought. To the contrary, you've got your shit together. Thank you, Cottage Farm, very much for bringing that up, and some more, shall we say, specific items that came from within the story. I just read that and I thought, I've got to say something. I'm tired of being silent on this topic. You know, it's still kind of beaten into my head. John, you're not a mom, so you're not allowed to talk about babies. Or John, you're not a woman, so you aren't allowed to talk about the womb or ovaries or a vagina or nothing. Yeah, it's kind of like this, you know, pro-abortion House Democrats marched into the Senate claiming my body, my decision. What a bunch of sophomoric garbage. So idiot Democrats form the House, these Democrats form the House, relay a message to the idiot Democrat Senate, all within Washington, D.C. What a surprise. Who would have guessed, right, that they'd pull a stupid stunt like this? Oh, this changes everything. I didn't know they were going to chant my body, my decision. I've never heard any logic as brilliant as that in my life, right? How do we kiss their asses and make it really count? These people are unbelievable idiots, folks. Unbelievable. I've been waiting to talk about that particular story, by the way. Shit's hit the fan. Are you ready? Prepared? Do you have food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense, and a plan? Let's see. Food, water and electrolytes, shelter, medicine, water with electrolytes, and a plan. Baby formula. Unbelievable, folks. Unfreaking believable. Okay, Jolene, sorry about that aside I had to take. Who do we have stepping up next? We've got Uman. I know this one's been frosting your cake, Uman. He says the dumbasses in the Senate voted to confirm Jerome Powell, Chief Goon Powell, as my good friend Craig Hemke said. I've actually not good friends with Craig Hemke. We've talked on several occasions. Hell of a nice guy. Brilliant, smart, funny. Looks like Pee Wee Herman's third cousin. Just a little bit of resemblance in there, but a great guy nonetheless. Chief Goon Powell. And when I said it with him, he kind of laughed. You know, he's like, I want everyone to say that. Jerome Powell, for a second term, is the Federal Reserve Chairman. What is this guy doing right now, folks? Well, we've got a choice of two evils. Evil number one. The Federal Reserve keeps doing what it's done since 2011 and using the plunge protection team, super secret exchange stabilization fund, magic cash from the modern monetary theory of there's no problem here, printing presses, and keeping the stock market up and floating money into the economy and keeping the market and the entire system liquidity, dollars flowing, velocity, doing the best they can, or evil number two, which is raise interest rates, raise them some more, raise them some more, try and stop inflation, and all they've managed to do is raise the value of the dollar, and it hasn't stopped inflation. It's not gonna stop inflation. Not the way they're doing it. And they certainly don't have the guts to do what was done back in the 70s and 80s, right? When Paul Volcker took the bull by the horns and fixed a problem, but the suffering was off the hook then, and it'll be off the hook times 5 now. I think it'll be 5 times as worse because they're playing a game. They've been playing a game since, well, some could claim since 2011, others since 2008, others could say since 2001, and still a person like me would say since the Soviet Union crashed. This was all started by Greenspan, Alan Greenspan, who is chairman of the Federal Reserve. There's really no good choice for Powell. There's really no good choice to replace Powell. There's really no good decisions for anyone to make. We're fucked, to be frank. They have jacked this economy up. The Saudis, the other oil-producing nations, their energy ministers are right. The world has not invested in sustainable, intelligent energy development programs. They just haven't. They haven't. There's a company out there called Rolls-Royce. You guys may have heard of them. They make cars, very freaking expensive cars. They make jet engines. No shit, they make jet engines. And all the way back to World War II, they were making supercharged V12s that powered the British Spitfire. And then also, Rolls-Royce is engaged in making small modular reactors. Molten salt reactors are coming in. They're trying to make a thorium reactor that works, which is supposed to be less nuclear, less radioactive or some such thing. Still are not successful. But they do have other small modular reactors by a company called NuScale, N-U-S-C-A-L-E, NuScale. They actually have Nuclear Regulatory Commission approval on their small modular reactor, which all you have to do is flip a light switch and walk away, and it cools itself down, shuts itself down, doesn't require any power or any additional thought. In the event of the world's worst emergency, it shuts itself off even, and it cools itself off with no additional help. Now, of course, the corporation, the college, the smart people, the nuclear scientists, all said that's not how you want to shut things down, but it's so well designed, so safe that they could do that. Now, that type of innovation, that type of investment has been going on for 20 years. Yet, what are we doing here in America? We're putting up wind turbines and solar panels, just like Germany and the rest of Europe, which are great until they break. And they break all the time, and they fail all the time. It's crazy stuff. It is very crazy. There's been some investment in technology. There's been some investment in mining techniques, in mineral exploration, right? There's a company called Group 11 that is taking in situ mineral recovery out of uranium, so you don't have to dig the whole planet up. And they're now applying this technology to extracting other minerals like copper, silver, gold, iron, whatever they need to get out of the ground without digging up the ground. They just drill a few holes, pump a solution that's basically carbonated water into the ground, and they remove the minerals on the other end. The grass isn't disturbed. The wind can blow. What a beautiful thing, right? There's not a big giant hole in the planet. There's so many new technologies that have gotten this much attention. Yet these bastards in Washington, D.C., you might be able to name a few. I'm sure if I showed you a couple of pictures of the leaders and the bureaucrats. You just might recognize a few. They're so busy making money on the current system, the current medical system of incredibly dangerous Jim Jones juice and other medications like that. They're so busy making money on oil and the scam of that, and making money, well, building missiles, giving missiles to other countries, and telling those other countries to launch the missiles at your enemies, and then replacing those missiles and giving them to other people to launch at your enemies. War, the military-industrial complex. War, it's fantastic, is it not? All right, let's move on. I'm all over my soapbox high horse today. We got Serge. He says, John, do you think China will go after Taiwan much faster than Russia with Ukraine? Okay, this is a fabulous question. The answer is without a doubt, absolutely yes. Now, here's the deal. We know that socialists are scumbags. All a communist is a socialist in a big hurry, period. Communists are hardcore, in a hurry, in your face, and they just kill you. Yeah, China, when they go to take Taiwan, it's going to be a blitzkrieg of blitzkriegs. Now, there's a difference because Ukraine isn't invading Russia. I'm sorry, Russia isn't invading Ukraine, saying we own Ukraine. Ukraine has always been a part of Russia, and it was taken from us, and so we're taking it back. That's not why Russia's there. Russia isn't there to punish and destroy everyone. They're there because they want former, shall we say, peace accords to be obeyed. They want an understanding out of the leadership there that you're not going to bring in NATO and nuclear missiles and anything else. Finland, by the way, Finlandia, right now is making some stupid moves and upsetting the apple cart quite a bit more, saying, yep, any day now they're going to try and join NATO. I think NATO had better pay attention here. If you want a war with Russia, you're going to get one. If you want a war with Russia, you're going to get one. I wouldn't be surprised that if NATO or Finland, this is a John prediction here, if Finland, which has never been part of the Soviet Union and wasn't part of any other agreement to not expand, as far as I know, they're on the border. They share a very long border with Russia. If they try rolling nukes into Finland, then I don't think Russia will invade Finland. I think Russia will threaten to use nuclear weapons to remove the other nuclear weapons, and they'll give NATO a very, very, very short window of time in which to cooperate. Much like when the Soviet Union, the communists, decided they would roll a few dozen nuclear missiles into Cuba, just a couple hundred miles from the United States. That the president then, John F. Kennedy, said, you know what, I don't think so. Democrat President John F. Kennedy said, we need to get this out of here or we're going to have a nuclear war. And that was the Cuban Missile Crisis. These idiots are pushing and pushing and pushing even harder. Now, I don't know why Finland couldn't go to NATO and say, we want to be a paying member of NATO, but a non-militarized version of it. We want to be a NATO state without the military requirements and pay their fees and pay for the protection that NATO is supposed to provide. It's unbelievable. As for China, they don't care about the people of Taiwan. In fact, they basically hate them. Putin has been very nice with the Ukrainian people. He's tried not to blow up their infrastructure, certainly didn't want to take out their nuclear power plants, did not want to disturb Chernobyl until the fighting started. I'm sure Voldemort Zelensky had nothing to do with antagonizing and threatening the Russians over disturbing the nuclear fallout there. Yeah, folks. Yeah, I really believe Voldemort Zelensky. You can tell when Zelensky's lying, by the way. It's when his lips are moving. That's how you can tell when he's lying. Unbelievable what's going on freaking unbelievable. Unfreaking believable. Just since this morning, I thought today could be a nice day. And then I saw all the money being screwed out of American investors and taxpayers. I've seen all of America being terrorized by our own government in DC now over fuel and food and energy. The whole world is being held hostage by this green energy lunatics in Europe and America. Unbelievable. It really is, folks. Okay, we got Opie Waddell checking in. He said, the prepared mother, John, the replacement formula rushed by the administration will be tainted. Be safe. The new formula, replacement formula, will be tainted. I haven't heard anything of that, Opie. I'm always suspicious of anything that's hurried. But I think all they should have to do is reopen that formula plant. And also you're saying it will be tainted. Are you suggesting it'll be tainted with bacteria? You know, what are you suggesting it'll be tainted with? Pharmaceuticals? I don't know. I'm always, like I said, always suspicious of things that the government did. That's why, whether it was Biden or President Trump, there was no way in hell I was going to take the Jim Jones juice. Bonnie Blue checks in, says, is it possible the Food and Drug Administration warning against certain baby formulas was a guise to acquisition a large supply to be sent to facilities at the border for illegal aliens? In other words, the FDA said, hey, this stuff is bad. It's nasty. So we're going to have to shut down the factory. We're going to confiscate all of this baby formula and take it away from you guys. And is that where all those pallets and pallets and pallets of formula that are showing up on the southern border? Why, though? All the government is going to do by doing this is piss off Americans. You and me. We are not going to say, you know what? The Democrats and Joe Biden have done such a great job. Let's vote for them this fall. They're making greater enemies of parents. They thought parents were pissed at them over schools and the anti-white racism that's being taught, the anti-European racism that's being taught, the anti-law and order that's being taught, the anti-constitution that's being taught, the perversions that are being taught and just crammed down people's throats. Now they have parents of little babies even pissed at them. They're losing their voter base. Parents, I had a story on Hispanics I couldn't get to. Yeah, Hispanics trust the administration and Democrats less and less and less. They don't like the fact that these illegals are being allowed up here. They haven't paid their dues. They didn't do things properly. They don't represent, they don't, the hardworking, right, mentality. These people coming up here are looking for freebies and handouts. They are not looking for the American dream and willing to work for it and pay their taxes. So second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, 10th generation Hispanics that have been here in America. Yeah, they're part of the system and they don't like seeing other people screw them over. Right? They're not like, oh, yeah, since you're brown and I'm brown and we're all brown, you go ahead and screw me over. It's not about color. It's about a political objective, an agenda. These people are completely, folks, jacked up between the ears. And they want me silenced. That's why I tell you, please, get that address right up here. Share it with others so they can wake up. This video, I think, was incredibly powerful in its message because it contained just the developments from today. The newest, stupidest, most outrageous, un-effing believable SHTF news that we've had in some time. But it could be twice as bad tomorrow. China could invade tomorrow. Russia could step up their program again. Russia could threaten Finland directly. The United States and NATO could invade and roll into Ukraine tomorrow. We don't know what's happening next. All I can guarantee is it's going to be bad. We're not going to wake up and go, wait, everything's fine in Ukraine. Wait a minute. There's plenty of fuel and it's inexpensive again. Wait a minute. The elections, everyone's agreed that voting machines should be tossed out. We should do it the old-fashioned way to guarantee that no voters are disenfranchised. Wait a minute. The Federal Bureau of Investigation has gotten rid of its poor leadership. And they have some new policies and procedures that will protect our rights. And the FBI has decided that they are going to obey the Constitution and observe its limitations and restrictions upon their authority in order to better protect the God-given rights of the American people. We're not going to hear news like that. If I was president, you'd be hearing that kind of news all the time. That's why I'm not president. They don't want me. Anyways, you guys share the information, right? Thank you for hitting that little button up there that says thank you. Thank you for sponsoring the show. Thank you for being on Patreon. It's $2 a month, 7 cents a day. It keeps the lights on, keeps the spam in the pantry. You bet. I want to thank you all for that. All your support, all your help, your great questions, your personal research, sharing with me, right? Sharing with me all the information you're finding out there. I hear it. I swear, if anyone knew how many emails I can receive in a day, it would shock you. But we do the best we can to dig into everything and then bring it to you guys. This is your channel. It's your store, thepreparedmind.club. It's your store. Anyways, on Patreon, you get the news, you get the videos, you get all kinds of information that I can't talk about here because, you know, it's bad. So you guys be cool. Semper Fi means always faithful. And Godspeed, God bless America.